I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Special Counsel Jack Smith filed an opposition to Donald Trump's motion to strike inflammatory allegations from the indictment in the Washington, D.C. federal criminal prosecution, a case set for trial in March of 2024. That case, of course, relates to Donald Trump's attempt to overthrow the results of the 2020 election. One of the key pieces of information and evidence that Special Counsel Jack Smith discusses in this opposition, which he says he will be introducing before the jury in March of 2024, is that Donald Trump's intent is also demonstrated from the fact that after January 6, 2021, Donald Trump continues to praise the January 6th insurrectionists. And not just that, but Donald Trump is out there in all of his speeches playing the January 6th choir's insurrection anthem, a song that Donald Trump co-wrote, that Donald Trump has apparently copyrighted with the January 6th insurrectionists, and he has the audience sing that song and put their hand on their heart. Instead of the Pledge of Allegiance, they play the J6 choir anthem, which is made up of some of the most violent and dangerous insurrectionists. So Special Counsel Jack Smith is explaining to the court, look, Donald Trump wants to strike inflammatory allegations. Look at his behavior. And this goes to the intent that he had on January 6th, how he's behaving and praising the January 6th insurrectionists. Let me show you just one example of where Donald Trump does exactly what Special Counsel Jack Smith points out. For those longtime MeidasTouch Network watchers, you know when we cover these Donald Trump speeches, we talk about how Donald Trump plays this Jan 6 choir anthem song. I'm not going to play the song, nor could I, because it's copyrighted by Donald Trump. He's making money off the January 6th choir's anthem. But right after he plays that song, he always discusses how it gets better ratings than Taylor Swift. Let me play this clip. And here he says it gets better ratings than, he says, Miley Cyrus. Here, play this clip.
And they asked me whether or not I would partake and do the beautiful words, and I said yes, I would. And you saw the spirit. The spirit was incredible. And when that came out, it went to the #1 song. It was beating everybody. It beat Taylor Swift. It beat Miley Cyrus, who was #1 and 2. They were #1 and 2. We knocked them off for a long time.
You know, when I talk about Donald Trump playing the J6 anthem instead of the national anthem, and how the cult traveling fascist circus rally crowds are singing the J6 anthem song, people find it hard to believe. Like, come on, Ben, that can't be the reality. No, that's the reality. And Special Counsel Jack Smith is pointing it out in his opposition brief. Let me point out the portion of Jack Smith's opposition brief where he mentions it. Right here, Jack Smith writes, for instance, the government will introduce at trial the defendant Donald Trump's own statements in the years since January 6th, proclaiming, quote, it a beautiful day, and calling rioters, quote, patriots, many of whom he plans to pardon. The government will also introduce evidence of the defendant's public support for and association with the January 6th choir, a group of particularly violent January 6th defendants detained at the District of Columbia jail. The defendant's decision to repeatedly stand behind January 6th rioters and their cause is relevant to the jury's determination of whether he intended the actions at the Capitol that day. So you see, I've been talking about it for months now, Donald Trump playing this January 6th choir anthem, and you see how Special Counsel Jack Smith is rightfully pointing out, no, Donald Trump is showing right here, he's admitting to the intent. He's applauding the behavior of these violent January 6th insurrectionists. Y'all remember from the debate in 2020 when Donald Trump said stand back and stand by regarding the Proud Boys, and that was like big news at the time? Donald Trump's not saying stand back, stand by anymore. Donald Trump's saying let's sing a song together and release it on Apple Music, and I will play it at the beginning of all of my rallies in place of the national anthem. Just think about that. So in Donald Trump's motion to strike, quote, inflammatory allegations from the indictment, What is Donald Trump essentially arguing, and what is Special Counsel Jack Smith opposing? Donald Trump is saying that the way Special Counsel Jack Smith characterizes the insurrection as being violent and being disruptive and having people harm police officers and blood being shed, Donald Trump says that's inflammatory and is prejudicial and would otherwise cause him embarrassment and to suffer disrepute. And so Donald Trump is actually having the audacity to ask federal judge Tanya Chutkan to strike or remove the portions of the indictment that reference the insurrection in those terms. And that's why Special Counsel Jack Smith is saying the conduct of Trump is inflammatory, but that's because he's engaged in that behavior intentionally, singing songs with the January 6th choir, releasing that on Apple Music, bragging about that, calling the insurrectionists great patriots, saying that you're going to pardon them, cheering them on. That's demonstrative of the fact that, number one, it's your intent to be involved in a conspiracy with these terrorists to try to undermine our democracy. We hear what you are saying, and it's also your conduct that's at issue, not the way we've drafted our indictment. And here's what Special Counsel Jack Smith says right at the opening of this opposition. He goes, on January 6, 2021, lives were lost. Blood was shed. Portions of the Capitol building were badly damaged, and the lives of members of the House and Senate, as well as aide staffers and others who were working in the building, were endangered. Yet publicly, the defendant has promoted and extolled the events of that day. While the violent attack was ongoing, the defendant told rioters that they were, quote, very special, and that, quote, we love you. In the years since, he has championed rioters as the great patriots and proclaimed January 6th a beautiful day. In this case, though, the defendant seeks to distance himself, moving to strike allegations in the indictment related to the actions at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. The court should recognize the defendant's motion for what it is: a meritless effort to evade the indictment's clear allegations that the defendant is responsible for the events at the Capitol on January 6th. Indeed, the day was the culmination of the defendant's criminal conspiracies to overturn the legitimate results of the presidential election when the defendant directed a large and angry crowd, one that he summoned to Washington, D.C. and fueled with knowingly false claims of election fraud to the Capitol to obstruct the congressional certification proceeding. When his supporters did so, including through violence, the defendant did not try to stop them. Instead, he encouraged them and attempts to leverage their actions by further obstructing certification. Contrary to defendant's claims, then the indictment's allegations related to the action at the Capitol are relevant and probative evidence of the defendant's conduct and intent, and they are neither prejudicial nor inflammatory. His motion to strike them from the indictment must be denied. And that's my thing where I talk about the behavior of Donald Trump and these MAGA Republicans. If they really wanted to stand by what they said, or stand back and stand by, if you will, with what they're saying, then say the same thing in court. If you're out there singing songs with the J6 choir and you're going in front of your cult rally and that's what you think you should be doing, as horrific and fascistic as that is, then stand up for yourself. Then when you're in court, don't gaslight. Say, this is what you do. Say, Your Honor, I am releasing the J6 choir songs and here's why I am doing it. Stand by what you say. But the fact that you're doing this for your audience, this for that should just tell you what liars they are to begin with and how dangerous they are. So I'm glad Special Counsel Jack Smith is saying, look at his conduct every day. Now he wants to distance himself from what went on in January 6th and act like he's not supportive of it. Look what he's doing with the J6 choir. Look what he's calling the January 6th insurrectionists. Look at the events that he's holding. Look what he is doing, Judge. Donald Trump's conduct is inherently inflammatory. He's inflaming riots to happen and to try to overthrow our democracy, and he should not be permitted to use that as a way to try to evade liability. Are you kidding me? Look, Judge Chutkan is not going to buy what Donald Trump is selling here. She's no Judge Eileen Cannon, which is a good thing. We will keep you posted, but I wanted to show you here particularly also how Special Counsel Jack Smith is utilizing some of the things Donald Trump is saying in speeches and how it's demonstrative of Trump's criminal intent. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We are on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch as well, and have a great day.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.